let's get down to business. Orphan First Kill was... I was going in there really happy because I like the actress who plays Esther. I like the story of Orphan, except the whole... There's a big old subsection of movies where they try to make it where instead of having a man be predatory to a little girl or appear that way, because this happens a lot in anime, whether you want to believe it or not. We can acknowledge that and still like some anime. But y'all, anime people who like to make fun of me because I don't like Black Clover or something, like it means so much to you and your family, like you had a hand in making the story, I will never understand how you can be so close to an anime that is just bad. But whatever. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Orphan First Kill. It was bad, like I said, and here's why. There may have been some comedic relief situations or camp-like situations in the first movie, like with that woman in the car and how on earth is this happening? And yeah, cool. Esther was a lot younger, and I'm not saying she looks old. I'm saying she looks out of place. They should have switched the actresses. They should have did something else because it looks really bad. They should not have used CGI. If they did use CGI, I don't know. Kind of looked very practical. I saw a video on Twitter showing how they all had to wear stilts and stuff. Once you know that, you watch that movie, you can completely tell that something is off with people walking. It's really weird. Esther's actress was recorded from the front. When the camera is at her back, that is a child there. We can clearly see that that is not her. So why did you make this movie? If you were going to make most of the time she's on screen not her actress. Very strange, very weird. And what is up with y'all making Black women the freaking psychiatrists and doctors usually? Because that happened in the first movie too. There was she was like a caregiver something. She was something or somebody who went to the house and left, and then the ice and all that and crazy crap. Some Black women would rather not see a Black woman if there's no Black people or Black women writing the character. And I don't know where I stand on that. I just know that I would like representation that does not heavily drench in any stereotype, like the person who has to help everyone. And yes, that includes to be a doctor, to be psychiatrist, to be therapist. If you notice in 911, in shows, they usually tend to make the doctors or the people who are supposed to help, the nurses. I've seen a lot of nurses, I've seen a lot of caregivers be Black women and be plump at that. And this woman is very skinny. So great, congratulations, you got one thing off the list. Now let's continue. That's not why this movie's bad. The movie's bad because, like I said, they should have just recast the character. And another thing that is really bad about this movie is the whole entire plot. The beginning was not set up at all really well. We see one thing pay off, like there's this girl that's inside the asylum with Esther. We already know that she's a grown woman pretending to be a child. I thought we were going to see why she became this way, not kind of flopped into a freaking new situation, you know? But it is what it is. She like trained this woman in the asylum to attack people, or she attacks men or something, and then she gives her a treat or a tooth or something. I don't know. Couldn't tell. It was too dark. Another thing that Hollywood's doing that's really ridiculous is you're making your movie so dark. You've got $10 billion as the budget, and you're going to make the movie so dark that no one can see it. Oh, just switch your things. I think it's interesting that you're telling me to switch something when I can watch a different movie or a different show and it'd be fine. But most of these movies that are coming out that people keep harassing me on commercials and on ads that I did not ask for, on tweets that only have like 2 likes. I've got these stupid ads telling me to watch Orphan and watch all these other stupid movies. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, honestly. Make your movies brighter. You're ruining movies. It's just straight up ruining movies. Let's get to the plot. So Basically, we drop down and we see Esther. She's in the insane asylum. Everybody knows she's ridiculous, and she's in Skuld Moldova or whatever that place is. I have no idea. Right now, I don't care. It has nothing to do with why I don't like this movie. I don't care where it's located. What the problem is how she escapes. It was really dumb. It's really insane. I really do not want to see any more of these movies dedicated to making a child or a perceived child predatory to grown men. That's the first thing that we need to stop doing. That's really the end of that. The first movie, I would say, got an 8 out of 10 solely because the fact that I'm just not interested in that story being told anymore. I refuse to accept those movies anymore. We have enough. We have enough of that. But this movie, it just makes no sense how she was able to kill this dude. Yeah, we could, like, if you watch the movie, just watch the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes. I do believe that's when she makes the first kill. It's weird. It's really weird, and I don't really know how to describe it, but continuing, she's out. This girl knows that she's escaped. She talks to this dude, and they act like they don't know how to catch her, or they don't have any, like, she goes out into the snow and she's just like gone. Like, they don't even try to catch her. Like, she goes to where the girl is that saw her escape, and she like creates Esther because she's a missing child. Come to find out, Esther was killed by supposedly a little boy who's like, I'm telling father, Lucius, freaking Draco Malfoy looking fool, mixed with freaking Barnaby Bell Jr. the third. Like, honestly, some loser rich kid boy who is very unlikable. And he never seems like he's going to kill anybody. We never see him do any horrible acts. We don't see Esther come to realize that these people are crazy. It just is plopped in our lap that these people are crazy. And the mom is covering for the son who killed the daughter, Esther. So now she's sitting here in this family dynamic with a guy who's unaware. Oh, the husband's so unaware and so naive. He's so naive that, oh, he's just a little old wholesome. Like, please get out of here, man. It almost made me throw up, for real. That whole dynamic is ridiculous. So the mom is protecting the son who supposedly killed Esther, which is ridiculous because other than him being annoying, there is no attributes about him. There's no characteristics about him that would make me say, yep, that's a killer. When I heard the story and I heard him talk about, oh yeah, I killed her and I'll kill you too, like, I actually thought that he was insane, like literally insane. Like, he didn't know what he was talking about. I thought by the end of it, the mom was going to come out and say, I killed the daughter, or I didn't mean to, or the father. I literally suspected the father to be the killer of Esther. Esther, the real child, not Esther, the Esther we know. But no, supposedly we go down in history thinking that this boy who has done nothing, Esther didn't find no dead creatures. Esther, it would be one, let's talk about that real quick. So Esther, the person we know as Esther, not the Esther daughter that has died already, comes into this home and pretends to be Esther. And so she's just like, oh, well, I'm this and that. Sometimes she gets some things wrong, but she was abused or she was left in some other country, bro. So even if she doesn't remember your name, that would not be a thing where, okay, she's a different person. That first of all, that was ridiculous. When the doctor was like, yeah, she's a different person, or basically trying to insinuate that she was a different person, that doesn't make no sense, because a child who was left in a place and lived somewhere and to where she got an accent, you'd think that she would have a different personality or something is wrong with her, to where it's not because she's a different person, but because she's been traumatized. That was really ridiculous. So let's talk about the next ridiculous thing. Like I said, let's talk about the animal. So while Esther's in this house, Esther we know and love, she's got this stupid rat friend, which is kind of ridiculous because I don't recall her having like creatures, like for creatures or whatever. I don't know why they had that whole rat thing. And I thought she was going to use the rat as a way to do something other. She killed it. Eventually she kills it and gives it to the mom because she's trying to throw her weight around. She always does that. She harasses the mom and dotes on the father. That's what happened in the first movie. But I thought we were going to get something different. I thought we were going to get... Before I talk about that, let's talk about this rat. Like I said, I don't recall her liking animals enough to eat it, to feed it, to love it and all that like she did in this movie. The ultimate payoff of the rat was basically her putting it in a drink for the mom. However, it would have made more sense to characterize the son as a killer, to have Esther hate him because he killed her rat, even though we don't see Esther as someone who likes animals a lot enough to take care of it and love it like she did in this movie. However, we get more characterization about how the mother, and she, by the way, the mom in this movie is Save the Last Dance girl, that girl that they threw into that movie that should have been about a black girl, but it wasn't, just to be ridiculous. Save the Last Dance was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It makes me sick. She's in, I don't know if it's 10 Things I Hate About You. It's one of those stupid teen movie shows things that she was also in, but she's very well known in Hollywood. It would have been very interesting if Esther actually had a challenge. They kind of play stupid for a good while and then basically say, we know that you're gross and we know that you're not a real little girl, but we're gonna live like this happy family. And she's basically pretending like she's actually gonna do something about this, but nothing really comes of it. And there's no back and forth Tom and Jerry. They try to kill each other, which I actually would think would be better than what we got, which was absolutely nothing. We got nothing. It was kind of like a waste of time. And that's where a lot of the points are taken off, because the mom, like I said, the mom seemed more characterized, more like a villain and a killer, because she was very like, oh, the daughter died, but she made it seem like she killed her. And she was just saying that the son did. It would be interesting to have her character like maybe try to gaslight her son into thinking he did it, but she's the one who did it. And then Esther like be a part of it. But then it would be ridiculous, because I did not want to see a movie about Esther fighting off people who are stronger than her or fighting people who were crazier than her, because this family is crazier than her, by the way, just to let you know. But we don't get nothing from the father. He's just someone who she is grossly in love with. Like, I feel like that dynamic of older man, very young girl is disgusting. Stop doing that. But since we're here and since that's existing and since that is the thing, we're going to have to accept that and we're going to have to talk about it. So like I said, the first movie was good, 8 out of 10. However, I took those 2 points off because, like I said, that's ridiculous. This movie was bad. And I already was like, okay, 5 out of 10. 4 out of 10 is because you guys had these characters and you did nothing with them. Like, you have to watch the first movie. Please watch the first movie. I'm probably not going to do a review on the first movie, but if you want me to, I totally will. Please let me know in the comments what you would like from this channel, what you would like me to look at. But Esther was very cunning. And yes, this is her earlier years before she was cunning in the movie that she died in, because she did die. Spoiler, this is a prequel. Like, it was just kind of insane to see her it's not even struggle. She did not struggle against these people. There was no fight. There was just words. She was known to be crazy, and they still housed her in the house without trying to kill her. And it's ridiculous. Made it seem like it was like a joke, kind of. This was like a comedy. Like the rat and the drink. I feel like the old Esther, let's just forget about the dynamic between her and the rat for now. The old Esther probably would have made that rat into a slurry and watched her eat it. But since the rat literally had no reason to be here, they made the rat whole. And she put it down the garbage disposal. And for some reason, turning it on did not make everyone smell rat in the house. But it was supposed to be a joke. That's why I'm saying it's a joke. It's not scary anymore. Orphan was never scary to me because that's not one of my fears. Thinking that a child is a child and then it's an adult and then that child, adult, killing me is not a fear I have. But maybe to someone else, Orphan was scary. And it also had a different dynamic. It also had a different aura about it. It was darker. It was more conniving. It was more like that. This girl broke her arm because she wanted to frame her mother for breaking her arm. She broke her arm. This girl put a rat in a drink, and that was it. Like, Esther, older Esther, then prequel Esther, was an extremist. She was willing to hurt herself in order to make it appear as if the mom was hurting her. So looking at prequel Esther, one can have the argument that she's not up to snuff yet. But she's not as extreme as she was. And don't say it's because it's a prequel. Just don't. This is already an extreme situation. I'm sorry. The rat in the drink without doing anything else just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, dog. It's a no for me, dog. Like I said, this is a prequel. You could say that she was less insane then than now. But it just doesn't seem like she's the same person. She doesn't seem like the same person. Like I said, if there was going to be a dynamic between her and the rat, they should have written it to where the boy killed the rat, and that's why she has a vendetta against him, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no conflict. The only conflict there is she's a killer and she eventually has to stab somebody. That's what we're waiting for. But there is absolutely no setup or payoff to her even being here. That's the problem with this movie. Aside from the other problem of, like I said, the whole predatory younger person, even though that doesn't make no sense. And yes, like I said, she is an adult. People perceive her as a child. That's the problem to me. That's just like I said about anime. That's why I keep bringing it back to anime. Seven Deadly Sins. I have a video on Seven Deadly Sins and why I don't like to watch it. And Merlin in that show, that anime, her natural form, it looks like a child, but she is a woman. She's a grown woman. And it's just like, why are we making these? Why? It's just like, whatever. Okay, whatever. 4 out of 10. This movie's a 4 out of 10 boo-boo butt cheek crap. It's garbage. There's no reason for it to exist. They should have recast the woman because she looks really different and it looks really weird and jarring. Sometimes when you get the same person who has voiced or was standing in for that particular person, i.e. Freddy Krueger, dude that plays Freddy Krueger, The Shape from Halloween, those people that are older now, but not when you're trying to basically sell the fact that a grown woman is pretending to be a child. You might want to reevaluate who you put in that role and how that looks. We can only suspend our disbelief so much before it looks silly. It's too dark sometimes to see anything. Don't tell me to turn up my lights. You turn up your lights, Hollywood. I'm not gonna mess with my freaking thing, so I gotta put it back for everything else. Conform. The whole being with a family that's crazier than the crazy person is kind of ridiculous in this sense solely because the boy is not characterized as a person that could kill. He has no potential to kill. There's nothing he does in the whole movie that makes me think that he is the killer of Esther. We don't even get no backtracking. We don't even get no flashback of him doing it. That's why I said it's such a mystery as to who really killed Esther, because the mom seems like she killed. If you watch the movie, it seems like they were trying to make it to where she was the killer. And they didn't even try to bring in the father. They didn't even know what to do with him, because in the other movie, she liked the father, but it was like a mentality. It was like it was like a type of spider where you weasel your way in and pretend to be somebody. And then okay, you know what? There's this bird that lays eggs in another nest and kicks out the baby birds. It's kind of like that, except the opposite. This is a weird movie. This is a weird dynamic. It's really hard to talk about this because it's like really weird. But like the grown woman who's trying to pretend to be a child comes in and tries to kick out everybody and be with the father. That alone sounds ridiculous. Whoever made that should be ashamed of themselves. Like, there are other movies, there are other stories to be told, there are other killer movies that could have been created, but you decided to make a prequel to a movie that was already fine as it was. Stop making prequels unless you know exactly what you're going to do and how that character is going to evolve. Esther putting a singular rat in a drink, that was the craziest thing she did with the people who already knew who she was and how dangerous she was. Yes, you could say that they were afraid, but they didn't seem afraid. Watch the movie if you don't believe me. They weren't afraid of her. They could have threw her out the window. She's still small. She's not like Chucky, where Chucky's got like man strength or something in a little toy body, even though he could get slashed in half with a katana. really interesting to me how they didn't just throw her out a window or break her legs. But it's interesting because guess what? The reason why the mother in the first movie couldn't do nothing like that is because she was already telling everybody that she was being abused by the mom. People were already ready to send her to the insane asylum. They were already to send her out packing. That's how Esther got people to bend to her whim. That's how that happened. Watch the first movie and watch the second movie. That's a prequel. And tell me if you think that Esther in First Kill is anywhere close to how vindictive and how conniving she was in her first movie. That's why this movie gets a 4 out of 10. Not just because I don't like the premise. I told you, I gave this movie a chance. I liked the first movie, despite its flaws and its problematic freaking plot. But it's garbage. It's just utter garbage. You can't introduce a villain and then expect us to want to kind of root for her against these people when we already know that she makes it out alive. That's why it's kind of hard to make a prequel with someone who you know already died before, because first of all, you know that no situation that they go through will kill them. This is a prequel to a movie that has not been created yet in the timeline, to events that have not been done in this timeline, okay? So Esther's not in danger. Putting her with a bunch of crazy people or maniacs does nothing for me because we already know she lives. It made no sense to make a prequel unless you were going to show us how she got this way. And then it looked really weird to have the same woman play the same character. Yeah, you could say she's in adult situations, so she shouldn't be a child, but she definitely shouldn't have been her. Look at her shoulder width in the front of her. And then when you see the camera go behind her, you can clearly see that that is a child's proportions. Those are child proportions. She is a grown woman, and she may have been grown in the first movie. I don't remember. She didn't necessarily look the same. It's not about what her face looks like. Even though, yeah, that's really weird that they didn't even try to age her down at all, in the face at all, like Will Smith. In that movie nobody watched, I think it's called Gemini or something. But the fact that the proportions look so different from scene to scene, it's ridiculous. Please stop doing that. And while you're at it, stop making movies about predatory people who are perceived as children. How about that? That's my review of Orphan First Kill. It was bad, terrible. I'm never going to watch it again. And it was a waste of money and time.